Welcome to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection, the City of Crawfordsville's weekly podcast that comes out every Monday morning. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and I'm joined in the studio every week with Mayor Todd Parton to keep our community up to date on current events, city workings, and to hear from community members on a variety of topics. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed the show. Welcome back to another episode of Crawfordsville Connection. I'm your host, Sarah Summer, and today I'm joined in the studio by Mayor Todd Parton.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. And we have Gina Haile here with us today from United Way, and we're going to talk a little bit about Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. But before we get started, Mayor, do you have any announcements?
Yes, just to remind everybody that Monday, November 11th is Veterans Day. And so city offices will be closed. There'll be no trash pickup. We'll have double pickup on Tuesday. Also, if you're listening in time, 10:30 a.m. on Veterans Day will be the Veterans Day Parade in downtown Crawfordsville.
Yes.
And that will be on Main Street basically from Wallace down to Green and then go south on Green to Pike.
Great.
And there will be a small service right around 11 a.m. At Marie Conine Plaza.
Okay.
So if you listen in time, come down and join us.
Yes. One of our early morning listeners.
Yes. Yes.
Drive into work, if you hear it.
We've had a really nice turnout for the parade. We're just a few years into doing that, and we've always had a nice turnout. So that'll be great. I think the veterans really appreciate it and enjoy that day. Absolutely.
Well, we'll kick it right over to you, Gina. If you want to go into your introduction and tell us a little bit about who you are and what your involvement is with the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library.
Great. Yes, I'm Gina Haile. I'm the director of United Way in Montgomery County. I am coming up on my 4th year anniversary in another 2 weeks.
That's exciting.
And
time flies, doesn't it?
It does. And when I came on, we were still Muffy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were Muffy for about 6 months, a little over 6 months. And in that time, made the determination to merge with United Way of Greater Lafayette. And that has been a very positive transition. It's one of the things we were kind of going back and forth about whether that would be good for our community, but our campaign has grown. That's what we're in the midst of right now. So as director, I run the annual fundraising drive to help fund our 18 partner agencies. And then we also have 3 programs, our VITA Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, Kindergarten Countdown Camp, which is 3 weeks in June. And then the most recent program we added in June was Dolly Parton's Imagination Library.
That's awesome. Well, for people who don't know, I'm sure people know who Dolly Parton is, but what on earth is the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library?
Yeah, Dolly Parton is the founder of it. She grew up in a home. She talks about her father being the most wise man she has ever known, but he couldn't read.
Right.
And so that became a passion for her. And her vision was just for her county to make books available to children there. And it has just grown in 25 years to be a worldwide, millions of children are part of the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And the beautiful thing of what it basically is are free, high quality books that are mailed to children once a month if they are between birth, 0, and their 5th birthday. And so the idea is to foster a love of reading, to get books in the hands of children, and to have equitable access. So it is a free program. It does not matter your income, whether you're unemployed and have 0 income, or you have a doctor, 2 doctors who have enough to buy books. You all qualify. We want books in the hands of kids, and that's what Dolly Parton's Imagination Library is a way to have books sent to your home for your children and you to enjoy.
That's awesome. Why did United Way decide to create, the opportunity in our community for this program? Obviously, it's something that's been happening in other communities, like you said, for 25 years. Why now, and how did United Way get involved in, getting this started here in Crawfordsville, Montgomery County?
It actually started in my first week of becoming the director. I was kind of looking around at what we do and what else was going on in the community. And I was interested to see who was doing the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And
Mhm.
I was a little shocked to learn that we didn't have it in this community. And so I began kind of periodically looking into what it would mean to bring it here. And it kind of came down to funds
Yeah.
because the responsibility that every community has is to have what they call a local affiliate who will be responsible for the funding of the program.
Okay.
The cost of the books and the cost of shipping are the two things the local affiliate is responsible for, plus registering kids, marketing it to your community, just building awareness. And I think that's been the reason that no one took ownership of it. It is another thing
Right,
to add on
right.
top of a responsibility there. But United Way, we have a commitment called a Cradle to Career commitment, and 2 spots on there are, actually I'll do 3. One, that children are born healthy, and that would include, I feel like, being in a home that has access to resources,
Mhm.
that they are ready, they are entering kindergarten ready to learn, and that they're reading by 3rd grade. And so this Dolly Parton's Imagination Library was a key part of, I felt, making sure those areas of our commitments were addressed. And so, kind of, as I said, I looked at it over the years, but just never felt, as I was just trying to build our basic funding,
Right.
that it was that the timing was right to start it. And then the Indiana chapter that oversees all of the local Dolly Parton's Imagination libraries reached out to us and said, there's nothing in Montgomery County, and
Mhm.
would you be able to help us identify somebody? And I quickly rose my hand and I said, yeah, me.
Yeah.
Like, we'll do it. And so they shared with me and reminded me, because I had seen it, that the Indiana legislature had passed a bill in that summer, last summer, 2023, to fund half of it. So
Wow.
immediately our fundraising needs were cut in half,
Mhm.
and it proved, I'm like, we're ripe, we're ready
Yeah.
to do this. And I felt like the program was such that our community would rally around. As I've gotten to know our community, our funders, I thought that this was a program that they would support, and I was right.
Yeah.
And so we had to raise the equivalent of 2 years of funding in order to launch the program. I anticipated that taking a while, but it actually happened very quickly, and we launched in June. And so that was just a great way for us to bring something to the community that I felt was a gap. We didn't have something that had potential to have so much impact, and provide that for all of our community, and not just one section of it, but everyone in our community who has a child in that age group can participate. So I was encouraged by that.
It's really neat too. If you think about that, if you sign your child up right at birth until the age of 5, that's 60 books
That's
that
right.
you can, have in your home at no cost to you. And so that's really important for people who might not have the opportunity to do that. But also what's important to know is these books are age appropriate, and they're like curated books by a group that like pick books, correct?
That is correct.
They're age appropriate. They, make sure that they're hitting different milestones for these children, and they make sense for what they should be learning at the time.
That's right. The very first book every child receives is called The Little Engine That Could.
Mhm.
But then it is age appropriate all the way up. They also have Spanish books available,
That's
not
awesome.
every month, but if that is the language of preference for a
Mhm.
family, they can opt in when that book is available in Spanish. That can be what your child receives. And then up through their 5th birthday, when they receive what's a book called Look Out Kindergarten, Here I Come. So
That's
it's
cool.
all building towards getting that getting ready for kindergarten.
That's awesome.
Your own little library.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It is. We just received our 2nd book. So we got the Little Engine That Could, and then, my son is 4 months old. So we got a book. It's called Look, and it's just black and white photos. And that's perfect, because those are the types of things that he's learning right
Absolutely.
now. And so seeing that they're really geared towards the age and their developmental milestones right now, and they progress with them. I thought that was really cool.
I think the other thing that's important to know about the importance of this program and the equitable access is statistically, we know that in a middle to upper level household income level, there are on average about 20 to 25 books for every child. So
Okay.
a lot of that middle to higher income folks are building libraries. But in lower income households, there's one book for every 300 children.
Wow.
So it's completely a way to level the playing field, that every child can have 60 books
Right.
in their household. And then there's all kinds of, and I won't bore you with statistics, but all kinds of statistics about what having books in that 0 to 5 age range, what that does to prepare a child. I think we'll talk about it in a little bit, but it is just remarkable that that factor alone is crucial for us to get this program going.
It really is. So, you said you launched in June. We're, 5 months in. How is the program going?
It's remarkable. I've been telling this story often, but it still blows my mind. I had pulled our librarians together and a few other folks who I knew had an interest in this program to kind of let them know that I was looking to launch it. I needed their help. They, libraries are where families will show up. Like, can you help be a contact, a messenger, help us register kids, get the word out. And I met with them in mid-June saying, I'm getting ready to launch in a week. As soon as I finish some paperwork, we're going to have it. I'll let you know as soon as it's launched. And I was watching for it to come live on a Wednesday. Not that that matters, but I was getting ready in the morning and I looked on Facebook and I saw I saw somebody else post that it's live.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I didn't announce, you stole my thunder.
Right.
I didn't get to announce it. This isn't good. But then I thought, well, okay, it's fine. But I kind of did some research. How did you know it was live? And one of those members that I had met with had been watching for it too. So she had shared on a mom's Facebook group, that it was live. And so about 2 hours later, I was in my office and I opened up my database to check, and I had over 200 families already registered. And I was like, oh, wow, this is good. That is the mile marker that for our size community, Dolly Parton, the Imagination Library, wants you to have at the end of 12 months.
Wow.
That's the percentage. So we had it in 2 hours.
That's awesome.
And,
Wow.
and then I posted it. I saw it getting reshared from people, both my post and that other person's post, and other people started sharing it. By the end of the day, I had 500 families registered in our community. By the 1st of July, which was when the first set of where they call my database and start mailing the books, we had 700 children enrolled. And then right now we stand at just about 900 children, which is a third year program or milestone that they want us to be at. So we have, there are 2,199 children 0 to 5 in our county, and we have almost half of them enrolled in our program after 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
And what that did was, one, it let me know I was right, that our community was ready.
Yes.
But it also created a funding challenge for me because the budget I had created expected us to have, as I said, 200 children by the 12th month and maybe 400 in 2 years. And I'm already
double that.
Double that. And so, my bill every month is pretty high, but we have been very fortunate to receive a couple of grants. The first one that helped us launch was the Women's Legacy Fund through the Montgomery County Community Foundation. They gave what at the time was a year of funding. Now it was 3 months, but 4 months. And then a grant from Centerpoint Energy, which also gave the rest of the funding to fund for 2 years at the time. And I'm excited to announce when our numbers in 2 weeks went so high, I reached back out to them and asked if I could have a second opportunity to ask for a little bit more money. And they awarded a higher grant for us. So we are funded through definitely through the 2 years, a little bit longer than that for just those 2 grants. And then First Merchants Bank has also given us a grant for $5,000. And then there were a couple of individuals who also have stepped forward with grants. So we are assured to have the program with the funding in place for the 3 years, and we can just continue to grow it, get the word out, get more families involved, and get more folks involved too. There's other ways. While that sounds like we're well funded, we want this to be sustainable.
Right.
And so we need to start building that base of funding to keep us going and ensure that we have the program for years to come.
Absolutely. You know, with those numbers, I think it just shows that there was a need in our community. So not only were people wanting this, there's a need for that. You know, we know we're not, you know, the wealthiest area in Indiana. Right. And so this is something so important for our community, and to know that people were ready to take that opportunity. I mean, 2 hours within it launching, that's incredible.
I think one of the other things that surprised me, and I would count myself in this, is the number of parents who were spreading the word because they didn't have it when their kids were young. I was the same. I looked for it when my daughter was in that age group, and I'm like, okay, we just don't have it. And I didn't think twice about it. But what I saw shared when it kind of went viral there were many of my fellow parents in my stage in life who were saying, it's here. Like I wanted it for my kid, but now you guys have a chance and get it. So there were all levels of folks who recognized the importance of getting these books in our community. And I think the one thing that you, Mayor, will be, I think, and the reason I see it being so important is just the long-term impact having literate, well-read, ready to learn children means to our long-term vitality as a community. That's one of the gifts of the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time, you know, with the Early Learning Center and everything else we're doing. You know, so much of that brain development happens in those very early years before they are even in school. And
I think the statistic is 85% of is developed by 3 years old.
And you're making those connections, you know, and it just exposes a child to so much. And we talk a lot about workforce and workforce pipeline. And a lot of people think that starts in high school, maybe middle school, but it actually starts, I think, for us in Crawfordsville, even before birth, because we're already thinking through Project Swaddle and Project Bundle and avoiding, you know, premature births. But
absolutely.
But, you know, in those early years, to get books in the hands of children and give them the kind of exposure is just, it's immeasurable, really, if you think about it over a lifetime. So we're super excited to see this happening right here in our community.
Yeah, a child learning or reading by 3rd grade has all the markers of the high school graduation rates are higher if children are reading by then. Delinquency and incarceration rates go down. Employment goes up. I mean, the reading and exposure to books has such lifelong impact that and the better our children and our families are doing, the better our community does. And so I completely agree. I'm excited for what our community will look like in 5-10 years as we start to see our children have exposure to books.
All the things we're doing today, it's for the future, really.
Absolutely.
You know,
it's you know, I think we had, I don't know what episode number it was. I'll have to look back. But we had a group come on to talk about, you know, our reading scores in the schools too, and how that impacts everything that's going on. And this can really help boost that. And so it will be interesting to see some of those statistics and see, you know, what is the impact from, you know, 2024 when we started, what were these reading scores in schools to, you know, when those children
talk to our kindergarten teachers in a few years and see if they notice a difference.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, people think, oh, it's a book, but the impact that it can have on a community or a child, it's crazy, you know, what it really can do. And before, recording this, I went onto the Dolly Parton's website, and she's got a video of her reading a letter, and she talks about her father, like you had mentioned. And she said, the thing is if you can read, you can teach yourself anything.
Yes.
And so that is so, so important, where she says, how wise her dad was, but had he been able to read, think about where he could have been.
Right.
And so that I just, it gives me chills to think about, like, if you can read, you can learn anything. And it's crazy to think of, like, where will these children be once they can read? They can become anything. They can learn anything they want. And it's pretty cool to think about.
I think the other, related to that, the other thing that I find is the brilliance of the Imagination Library is that it goes to the child every month. And so maybe not your baby yet,
right.
but the 2 and 3 and 4-year-old is building an excitement.
Yes.
For a book showing up to their home.
Right.
And so just instilling that love and excitement for learning and reading and education, that's just kind of a really cool extra asterisk to the program that I find. And then also that children and their parents reading together.
Yes.
And that bond that we will start seeing impacted as well as that interaction happens is an important part of the program as well. And we can't underestimate that. It's not just a book.
Right. It's not.
It's a relationship, and it's an interaction, and it's a building of memories. I often share when I talk about this program, I grew up in a home where reading was stressed, and everything from on Saturday, my mom made us do our chores. My sister and I spent Saturday mornings doing our chores, but the incentive was when our chores are done, we could go to the library and we could pick out our books for the week. And, we all came home with a bag of books, and, that was just part of our culture of our home was reading. I remember vividly my mom sitting with her Harlequins in bed before she went to bed. But that idea that books were just part of who we are. The other one I share is I very vividly remember being about 5 years old. I grew up in Lafayette. My dad was a mechanic, and we owned a gas station, and great memories of just hanging out in the station. But and I always say one of my favorite things was back in the 70s, the vending machines. You pull the lever and get your candy bar. You get to do your soda out of the vending machine, and that was the big thing. If I rode home with Dad, he always got me a soda. And so it's one of my earliest memories coming home from the gas station with my dad, and he had gotten me a drink, and we were driving down the road, and I was holding my can, and I looked down at it, and I said, "Put litter in its place." And I read it off the can, and he literally slammed on the brakes, pulled over to the side of the road. He goes, "Read it again," and it was just my dad was so proud of the fact that I could read, and he stopped high school in 8th grade. He understood the importance of that education, and that books and reading were such an important aspect of that. And he celebrated that with me. And obviously that's one of a memory that's so impressed in my brain. I share it frequently that too is why I think I'm so passionate about this program, is because I understand the joy of reading and the importance of reading. Yeah. Just seeing it in my own family. So I think the Imagination Library opens that up for everybody to have that experience.
Can't help but think books are kind of a big deal in this community.
Yeah.
They're printed here. They're distributed here.
Yes. And Dolly Parton's Imagination Library are Random House books. That's who that's cool. It is a full circle for me too, that they are actually coming from Crawfordsville. And so, that's cool. We are part of the cycle now, and being able to help. And Random House is so generous with our community anyway, but now to have another way that all of our families have access to those books is great.
That's really cool.
If you've never been in Random House, and most people haven't, there are more books than you can even imagine in that building, and it's getting a lot bigger.
Yeah, it is.
It's one of our projects. So,
great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And Lakeside.
Yes.
Yes.
They actually make books.
Yeah.
Books are born there.
Right.
How's that?
Right. I like it. Well, you touched a little bit on the eligibility. I hope when people are hearing this, they think of, either their own child or they think of a child they know that they want to get signed up for this. How does somebody go about getting signed up for a program that is as wonderful as this?
Right. So there are a number of ways. Our libraries are all prepared. If you just go to a library, they have forms if you prefer to do it on a piece of paper, and you can just turn them right in there. They'll get them to me, or they'll enter them themselves into the database. Or you can go to imaginationlibrary.org. I think I should have looked that up.
That's okay. I can put it in the show notes. Yeah.
And or to our website, uwmontgomery.org. And there is a link that you can find a way to register online for the library. And either way, and just Google Imagination Library would also be a way. But it's a simple, put in your information. We try to turn over those and accept those registrations as frequently as we can. So usually within a week, if that we've gotten it and that you are signed up and ready to go. And then it usually does take, they take from the database the first of every month, but it's for the next month. So if you signed up now, you would not see your first book probably until January. So it takes about 6 to 10 weeks, depending on when you sign up for something to get your first book. And it comes any time in the month. I've had parents who by the first week are like, where's my book? I haven't gotten it. Well, it can come depending on when they mail it, can come anytime. But it's a simple application. You can also just reach out to me and I can do it over the phone as well, or through an email or via Facebook. You really just need to contact the United Way Montgomery County or the Imagination Library, and there's a way to sign your child up.
Perfect. And like you said, those books just come right to their doorstep.
Yeah.
They come in the mail. They don't have to go pick them up anywhere. They're coming directly to the home.
Yeah. I think one of the other things I'll share, Dr. Kathy Steele is one of my favorite people. She was a campaign chair for me a couple of years ago, and I get now why everybody loves her so much in this community. She's great. But I had shared at the Retired Teachers Association about the program and where we stood. And afterwards, she shared that she plans to give this when somebody has a new baby as a gift to them, is to pay for, and not that it costs anything, but to underwrite the cost of that by giving United Way a check to cover 5 years of the cost of a book, which is very reasonable price. And I guess I haven't said that here either, but and give that she's giving the book of 5 years, the gift of 5 years of books, 60 books to a child. By supporting the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library through United Way, but then giving it. And she already did one. She just had somebody in her circle had a baby, and so she sponsored a first book for them. So I think that's another way that grandparents. I've had a number of them say, "Can I sign my grandkid up?" Yes, absolutely. For us to do them, they have to be in Montgomery County. So the two qualifications are for us to sponsor it, Montgomery County resident, and that they're 0 to their 5th birthday.
Okay.
And so if those two things work, then we can get you registered. But I would encourage, those grandparents, if your grandkid's in another community, just go to that Imagination Library website. You can do a quick check availability, put in the zip code of where your grandchild is, and get them signed up, because every kid needs access to these books. My favorite Dolly Parton quote is, "We can never get enough books in the hands of enough kids."
That's awesome.
And so that's just so important.
Yeah. So I guess it goes directly into our community involvement for funding and support. We do want this program to be sustainable. You mentioned you've got funding, for the first few years, but how can it continue to be funded? What can our community do to help support something like this? Yeah,
I think one of the things to understand is it actually is very cost effective to do this. So while it's free to the child, there is a cost, but it's very reasonable. With the legislature paying for half of it right now, the cost per child per month is $1.10.
Wow.
And so for around $12, $13, we can get books for a child for a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you want to give a $25 donation, you are taking care of 2 kids for a year. One of HHSB's program where they give an employee can give $200 to the nonprofit of their choice on their birthday. We had somebody do that recently, and I said, you are providing 187 kids with a book with just $200, or 13 kids for the whole month or whole year. And that impact and that ability to have that broad of impact with a very little investment, I think is what I hope people get. Mm-hmm. That if you believe that this reading is so important and understand the value of a child having exposure to books and developing the reading skills they need, this is the best program to invest in, because with, again, just a little bit of funding, we can have a broad impact. And similarly, when First Merchants gave a $5,000 grant, that's paying for 5 to 6 months of every child who's registered having a book. And that can't be underestimated. Mm-hmm. Like, that is just, for a lot of folks, a very doable gift, a doable grant. And so much of our community is impacted by that.
Yeah, I think, the name Imagination Library says it perfectly. It's, it opens the imagination, and the possibilities are truly endless. When people start off reading and listening to books, being read to them, it opens their imagination. It opens up the world of possibility for these children. And I think that's really cool, just to see how it all comes together that way.
One of my favorite, somebody sent me the mid-July after the first set of books, a mom from this community had put on Facebook, my daughter's first Dolly Parton's Imagination Library book arrived. We read it at bedtime. And she said, thank you to whoever made this possible in Montgomery County.
Yeah.
And so just that, I was thrilled to see that a parent was so thrilled that her child was part of this program, because she knew what it meant for her child to have that book and for them to read it together. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly the beauty of the program.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, how do you see this program growing? How can we continue to get kids involved with this? How can we get the rest of the community aware or involved? Where do you want to see this program go?
I would hope the goal that the Imagination Library sets for every affiliate is to have 65% of your community enrolled by the 5th year. As I mentioned, we're already at 50%. And so I would hope we'd hit that 65% marker in the next year or two. And I think that does come down to making sure your circle is aware of the program. Mm-hmm. I can't reach everybody. I only have so many followers on Facebook or in my sphere. Libraries are doing their part to help. But I think if you are aware of it and you have kids in your sphere of influence in that age group, I need folks in our community to share and to make sure there are still lots of folks who obviously do not know about that the program exists. And so if we can all share that and make that known, get your child signed up if they're not. I would hope the word free would encourage folks, because there is no cost to a family. But if you do have the means, maybe you don't have anyone in your circle who maybe fits in that, but again, you understand the importance of it to to not just that child, but how it will impact our community. And I know so many people care about Montgomery County, that you would see the role you can play to help fund the program and ensure that it has that sustainability. It's why I felt that United Way was the perfect affiliate for the program, is because it now becomes a commitment of our organization.
Right.
So no matter who's in leadership here, whoever's on the board, whoever's the director, who's ever staff, when we hopefully get some staff, then the program continues. And so, and there's sustainability to it.
Right.
And so, but that has to be in partnership with those in the community who can fund it and who can make sure folks know it's in existence.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's, a perfect way to end this. Get your kids signed up, your friends' kids, get them signed up, your grandchildren, people in your family. We want this program to grow. Obviously, we don't want it to stay at that 900 children. We want to see it grow and continue as more children are born, continue to get them signed up. Even if you think, well, they can't read, you can read to them.
Right.
It's never too early to start reading to them. Support the program if you have the means to, donate, make a donation to sponsor someone's books. And like you said, spread the word. It's so important because people don't know what they don't know. And this is the only opportunity to do that, is share what you know and make sure people are aware.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, is there anything else that you'd like to add, Gina or Mayor?
Great opportunity for the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spread the word. By all means, spread the word.
Awesome. Yes. And we look forward to seeing, where these children take, the learning that they're getting from these books into our community, into our workforce, and just seeing the impact that a program like this can have on our community.
Absolutely. Thriving children mean thriving families, which mean thriving communities.
Yeah.
And so a book has a way to impact Montgomery County.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has been a great episode. Yeah. I'm passionate about this. I love children's books. Yeah. And so I know that though my son is not excited about the book just yet, I'm very excited when we were receiving
He will be.
those. Yes, he will be.
Be looking forward to that arriving every month.
Yes, it's fun too. It's a package. It's it's a surprise. It comes. You don't know exactly when it's going to come, but it is. It's something to look forward to. And like you said, create those memories with your family to read those books.
And it comes in the child's name, which I think once your child is aware of that to me too, again, Kathy and I were talking about it. She said, we don't get mail anymore. Nobody gets mail anymore. And so just for a child to get something in the mail in their name, again, is just some of the energy and excitement for them around the book.
I love it. Well, as always, if you have topics or things that you want to hear about, please reach out and let us know. And don't forget about Yodel, our community calendar, and constant up-to-date information of what's going on in our community. Check that out, and we thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on this podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you aren't already, follow us on Facebook at City of Crawfordsville Official, on Twitter at City of Seaville, and on Instagram at City of Crawfordsville. We hope you have a wonderful day and can't wait for you to join us next week.